Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and just tell me what they do all day and let me record how this affects us. Thank you for listening. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, okay. I wanted to be a car designer.
From like how young?
Oh, from probably 7 or 8.
So how were you aware of car designers?
I liked cars, always have done, and my dad was kind of into it, and that's all I used to draw. Like when I was a kid, I used to draw cars. That's it, or be infatuated by them. It's weird. Like my dad used to say that if he gave me anything, I'd take it to pieces within 10 minutes, and then learn how to put it back together. So all my toys were in bits, and I think it was kind of they saw a slightly like engineering or something like that in me, but yeah, car design was what I wanted to do, the styling and the actual nice bit.
Was there a particular car or style that really set you off, that you were like, that one, or a designer, perhaps?
Let me think. That is going back through the through the drawers in my brain. Italian design, especially. So my mum always had a succession of very small Fiats, so like a 500, a 600, and a Panda and stuff like that, and like more minimalist than flamboyance, if you see what I mean. And yeah. So I think that was kind of a thing. Yeah.
You're listening to Series 4, Episode 26, and to my guest, Chris Joy. This is an in-person interview recorded on the 25th of October, 2023. Hey up, loiners. You know, if you join my Patreon for £1 a month, you'll be giving Patreon most of it. But if you join it at the Outlander rate of £5 a month, that's the price of a 4-pack of beer, or if you join it at the big time rate, which is £12 a month for those who can afford more than an hour of minimum wage pay to donate to this project, then I can do more of this show more easily, more often. And once again, if you want to just donate what would be the equivalent of a lifetime basic Patreon membership payment to Working Hours, then you can donate £120 to the project and feel the satisfaction of having done the good and honest and righteous thing. Reward me with treats and supply me with the sustenance and encouragement I need to bother every loiner over 18 to see if they might be one of my 1,000 guests. Here's one I bothered earlier. Chris Joy is a project lead at a construction and building management company, but that doesn't tell you anything about his work or even his many previous roles. Chris has done many off-the-wall roles, some of which we cover in this interview. He didn't send me any blurb for this intro, but you don't need any. He's not selling you anything. This is one of those all-over-the-place rambling ones, which I enjoy. We are mostly on theme through it, but we whiz through the questions at the beginning and then it turns into a rambling pub chat. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Right, let's do this. Episode 106 of Working Hours with Chris Joy. So what is it that you do now?
I'm a project lead is my official title for a construction and housing company.
Okay, so what are the projects you lead on?
It's the job role was kind of made for me, so it's difficult to explain. But the company I work for now, we're developing lots of new buildings, But what we do is we buy like old office blocks and turn them into housing, which has various aspects. It's great for the environment because we're not demolishing and rebuilding, but also we are. It's a tax benefit for it as well. Hence why we're doing it. It's all about the money. But yeah, it's interesting because we're having to take a shell of something and turn it into something else and adapt it. So my job essentially is to make sure it's safe. So I deal with a lot of health and safety and fire stuff and fire risk. But also I'm kind of like, for my company, I'm the emergency pull cord. Like if something goes wrong or something is like out of the equation that needs sorting, they call me, which is a bit strange. So it means that no 2 days are the same, but it's very interesting.
So, and a lot of moving between sites?
Yes, yeah. So I'm across the M62 a lot, down to London a lot, things like that. So, yeah. But currently focused in Leeds, we've got 3 buildings have just opened, 2 more in the next 2 months, which are just about ready.
So would you be involved in any of the, like, as they're preparing the buildings and getting the contractors and things like that?
No, I get brought in. That's all sorted. The building work commences. I get brought in towards the end to make sure that it's compliant and safe and it meets fire regs and actual building regulations and things like that.
So you're more at the client end. Do you meet the clients? Do you sort of like, do you meet tenants and so on? Or?
Tenants definitely.
Yeah.
Clients, the people who own the actual buildings, no, rarely. We're essentially a management company, although we have investments in all of them. But essentially, they're overseas. So just how it is these days.
So how did you get into that?
I applied for the job.
Applied for the job just so going.
Yeah, I mean, my background is operational management, I guess, certainly for the last 10 years, I would say. My career history is very varied, but the kind of arrows in my quiver kind of cover a lot of what I do now. So, transferable skills is a good thing, of which I use a lot on a daily basis. Everything from plumbing, car mechanics to structural engineering and things like that. And, so it certainly pulls at all the little chords in your brain to bring everything together. And I think that's why I'm in the position I'm in the company, because I get to, they realise I can do that.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah. So let's go into questions and then things might come out through that.
Yeah.
And then if you want to talk about anything, like I normally do, like as part of my spiel at the beginning, I normally do a bit where at the end we'll go through anything that like we might have missed or anything that you want to talk about. So the first question, I'll start off with COVID.
Right.
So I'm assuming you weren't in this job at that point, but
no.
we'll go into it. So I generally ask with this to think about when we went into lockdown, what you were doing. Like, were you working more or working less? And then sort of thinking, as we come out of lockdown, what are the kind of changes from COVID? Like, is there anything that's changed your work in the long term?
When lockdown happened, I was unemployed. So I was, prior to that, assistant operations manager at Leeds Bradford Airport. I've been there for 2.5 years, but things had drastically changed there. And I was essentially, don't want to speak out of turn, but I was kind of forced out. There was an element of the old school who were working there being, not removed, but literally just, kind of like, we're getting a new start, this kind of thing. So they were developing and things like that, which was, all positive in a way. So I was unemployed. Lockdown happened. I was quite involved in it. Unfortunately, COVID took my father. He was in a care home, that kind of thing. And then I was looking for a job. And it was interesting because I'd had 2 offers of jobs just beforehand, which got retracted. So one was with KPMG, working on a new thing they were doing, which was developing training courses for their staff. But obviously they do no face-to-face, nothing like that. So they stopped that. Another one was a property company doing the job I do now, but with a different property company. And they just pulled everything back. Then I had interviews within lockdown and got the job. And we worked from the office every day. So for me, there was no change whatsoever. I just went to work every day. We had things in place, obviously, distancing that to an extent. But we were allowed to work because we're property. And the government actually was on their tick list that you were allowed to work. So to be honest, I didn't really feel it that much. I know watching my friends all work from home and things like that, I was literally commuting every day. It was great. There was no traffic.
Were you driving in then?
Yeah, no traffic. It was great. But it was it was strange because we've all come out the other side of it, and for me, I almost didn't feel it in a way, which is a strange thing to say because so many other people did.
Did you notice? Was there any change for you from then coming out of lockdown? What did you notice coming back? Was it just like
traffic?
Where have all these cars come from?
Yeah, and people and things, and the majority of our sort of our tenants, for example, are students, so and international students at that. But even so, we were fully booked. I mean, I'd say probably 70% are from the Far East. They were paying for apartments for the entire year, not bothered that even though their students or their kids or whatever couldn't come over, they were still paying for the apartments. So, but we were just running around maintaining everything and sorting everything out. But yeah, it was. I guess it was an interesting time, but for me, it was just going to work every day, which I guess is probably odd for other people to hear if they were stuck at home. Or I look at my friends who work from home and are still working from home and not actually gone back to the office.
What was the workload like then? Was it like easier working or more working or?
No, it was pretty much
the
standard. Same. Yeah. I mean, we had to, make allowances for certain things, but no, it was pretty much the same all the way through, which again is, I guess, odd for other people to hear when they were stuck in a spare room, like staring at a computer screen or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move and I'll do this first, actually. I'll do the social media question first. So this is because loads of people have to do social media, and largely because I had to do social media for this. Right. And I don't like social media. And just through it's more and more as part of people's work, and even if you're not working in it, sometimes you'll be dragged in to do a post or whatever. Now I imagine with your role you don't have to encounter it much.
No.
But the question is basically like, how much time do you have to spend on social media for work, and is that a good investment of your time? But also think about it in terms of if you have to use Slack or Trello or anything like that, where you're, sort of assigning work electronically.
You know what? It's zero. Literally zero.
All phones?
Not necessarily phone, but I mean, people message me through various means, WhatsApp, Hangouts, we use Google Suite as a company profile or a company medium. But no, we have a marketing department. Anything to do that, we just throw to them. I'm not interested. I'm definitely a browser on social media personally. I'm not a poster. I mean, I have accounts on whatever, but no, I don't generally utilise it in that way. And the company does, but I say we leave it up to the professionals to do it. If you see what I mean?
I would imagine they have like either a social media manager or a company doing it.
Yeah.
Have you ever got any jobs via social media?
No.
No.
Not one.
Have you seen any sort of coming up that you've fancied applying for? Or?
No, not really. I've been in this job sort of 3 years, which I got through Indeed, which was the job site I applied through. I am on the mailing list for Indeed, Glassdoor, the usual shenanigans. Actually, no, saying that the KPMG one was through LinkedIn.
I was going to say, yeah.
But I never look at the kind of postings. I just look at the adverts.
Yeah.
So again, it's just like a normal job site to me, as opposed to, oh well, this person may have got this or whatever.
I mean, it could potentially be a good place for you. Cause,
maybe, yeah.
I mean, for other roles and so on.
But it's just promoting yourself, which I really can't be bothered with.
Yeah, but also just having yourself there,
Yeah.
and being a little bit active on it.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit of a dinosaur because I'm 47 now, so I'm from that age where social media didn't exist, and I think that I'm always skeptical of any advances or approaches through social media by employers or by people thinking, is this a scam? So
is it real? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you have to have the trust in all of that. You have to be using it, though, to have the trust in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just like, well, it's all scams, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I just don't have the time.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll probably run through most of these questions quite quickly, but that's all good. So I'm going to do climate change next. So Leeds is a city that's declared a climate emergency.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Understandably. Yeah.
whatever bloody degrees outside in October.
Yeah. 22, my car was saying today, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, good. So, yeah, in your work, is there anything that you can do or do or anything that's designed into your work in terms of climate change, i.e. raising awareness or reducing impact or mitigation, adaptation, anything like that?
We try and be, I'd say we're recycling buildings as opposed to demolishing, which is a big thing. And we're adapting as opposed to redeveloping, which I think is actually a good thing, to be fair. It's been great for us because post-COVID, going back to the COVID question, the amount of empty buildings which sat derelict is ridiculous, to be honest. So, we've kind of taken advantage of that. Or my employer's taken advantage of that. As far as other things, we're kind of restricted by the city in transport links and things like that, which are terrible, as we all know, because we live here. In the fact that, we're reliant on diesel buses and hybrid buses, which are still not anywhere near. Or, for me, where I live only sort of 6 miles from work. If I drive in, it takes me 20 minutes. If I use public transport, it's an hour and 10, which is a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to walk, down the road, get on a bus, drops me within 20 minutes walk of my employment, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's a 20-minute walk for the bus, so that's 40 minutes already.
Yeah.
So to go for a 9 to 5:30 job, which I do, I have to be up at 6 to take public transport, which is 3 hours before I actually need to be at work, which is,
Yeah, which is, and it's a lot 5 times a week.
Yeah, and coming home, similar.
Yeah.
So, who knows? The Leeds City Council, they've gone through so many bloody transport plans, which have failed. Every time. I don't have any faith that it's going to change anytime soon, to be fair.
Do you have any faith in the trams appearing?
I'm a bit of a geek with stuff like that, and we had probably the most the best tram system in Europe at one point in Leeds, and we scrapped it in favour of buses, and obviously, destroyed the infrastructure. But no, I don't. The last time they tried to do it, from what I remember, they spent pretty much the majority of the budget talking about doing it than actually doing it. No faith whatsoever.
Okay, so I'll move on to there's like 4 sort of things that have happened in the decade questions.
Things that have happened in the decade?
Well, or things that are affecting the decade, like,
Right.
kind of big topics. Because sometimes I use the social media one as well to sort of kind of touch on AI,
Right.
depending on what you kind of do. Climate change. So Brexit. Has Brexit affected your work at all? Where were you when we Brexited? Were you in this role?
When was that? I'm trying to remember.
Beginning of 21, just before the war.
Just before the war, or before COVID. No,
After COVID.
after COVID. So
After COVID.
I was in this job.
Yeah.
It slowed down construction projects because it slowed down materials. Prices went up massively. To the fact we've got 3 construction projects which started then have overrun and gone over budget, and I would say fundamentally due to that. So yes, it has affected. Also, there's not been a relaxation in sort of laws to do with what I deal with, which is compliance and fire safety and things like that. However, I can see that coming in a way, because we were all governed by Europe, which I was fine with. But I, the way I see things changing recently is we're just getting a bit slacker, which I don't think is a good thing.
Yeah, it's just do what you want.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if it's making money, do it. We'll gloss over that, or we'll look past it. So, no, I do think it has made a difference. Certainly, to myself with regard to the projects we've got ongoing.
I won't delve further into that at the moment. So this next question, so this is a different way of because it's hard to talk about like what's rubbish about your job or whatever. So the way around it and the way into it that I use is if you could change any 3 things about your job, so you can be fantastic, you can be really pragmatic, you don't have to use all 3. But yeah, if you could change any 3 things about your job right now, what would they be?
Okay. Oh, God. I think I work for an interesting company in the fact that it's very micromanaged by the directors, which in some ways is a great thing. In some ways is a bad thing. Because there's that element of trust where you don't feel trusted. So I think on previous merit and previous achievement, I think that maybe a little bit more trust would be good. Not that I don't get it, but you have to work for it in a way. So yeah,
is that slightly because are they quite remote?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you think
and becoming more so?
Yeah,
becoming more so. But I still have a direct line essentially to the powers that be, which is fine. And I try not to use it if at all possible. But there are times where you feel a little bit restrained and a little bit kind of enclosed. So I think that potentially like a little bit of a bit more laissez-faire maybe. But I don't work for English people or British people, and that it may well be a what's the word?
Different work ethic.
Yeah, a different ethical view of it. Yeah, and it's not my company.
Or attitude rather than ethic, I suppose.
I think maybe a combination of both, to be fair. But but it's not my company, so who am I to dictate?
Yeah, they're paying you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they're successful. So yeah. Other things, location. We don't need to be where we are. We're right in the hub of like Studentville and University District. We don't need to be there at all. We need to have an office there for front of house, but that's it. The sort of back of house, so operations and maintenance and things. We don't need to be there because we never speak to tenants face to face. It's all done through portals and things like that. So we could be anywhere, which would make life a lot easier. With regard going back to like the environmental question about commuting and things like that, why do I still need to commute? Not that I want to work from home because I dislike it, but there's no reason to be there. And then 3 things. So third thing, I'm trying to think. No, there isn't. I don't dislike my job enough to like pick out things like that. If you see what I mean.
Not more money, less hours.
Always. Doesn't everyone?
Company car.
Doesn't everyone? But yeah. No. I think I'm treated reasonably fairly. I mean, always more money would be a great thing. Just, the current rising price situation and cost of living. Everyone's feeling the pinch. I'm quite lucky because my housing situation is affordable, which I know a lot of people's isn't. Even people who work with me or for me, I wince at what they pay. But I just kind of felt lucky, I guess. But, if I live in rented accommodation, if my landlord decided that they want me to live here, I'll be in the same boat.
Yeah. Or their circumstances change and they're like, right, we want to sell, or we want to, or we need to double it, or we need to do this, or
Then I don't earn enough to have a safety net, which I don't think many people do these days. Which is
do you bother saving anything, or do you just save to spend?
I try. But
Have you done a pension? Do you do any of that?
Yes. God knows where they all are.
And one of those new ones starts every time you get a new role.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And there's no way actually of tracing them yourself. You have to involve a third party in things, which I need to do. But yeah, and I pay in as much as I can. But again, it's like, when you feel the pinch and you're struggling to afford spaghetti or something, then you're not going to pay that extra £2 or £5 or £10 or £20 or £30.
Yeah.
Because you haven't got it.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking, I should be thinking, because essentially retirement is 20 years away from me, 22 years.
But will we see 20 years?
Well, who knows, yeah. And who knows whether even the state pension will be there at that point. Who knows?
And, you won't be able to retire anyway. So.
No, well, my intention is not to, though, to be fair.
I think that's a more... I think there's an element in which, how much of your working life have you spent not working? If you think about it...
Very small amount.
I've spent quite a fair bit of, downtime, either travelling or, is that a doorbell?
No, it's my phone.
Either travelling or just being unemployed or working on something that I want to do. I think there's in terms of work-life balance, people do stuff that they want to do more.
I'm a slave. I can't help it.
Yeah, but you've worked abroad a lot as well.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, true. But I get too bored, and bored of myself as well. And I'll find little projects doing things like that, but they're rapidly done, and rapidly I'm like, next.
Well, we'll do the last question, and then we'll move into some other stuff, because I think we've whizzed through these. How are we doing for time? So yeah, because we started late anyway, so we've probably only done 25 minutes.
Okay.
So last question. Do you know what a universal basic income is?
Yes.
Okay. So if there was a UBI, again, this is another way of kind of getting into the idea of, if you didn't have to work, would you work? If you didn't have to worry about money. But yeah, I use UBI. But yeah, if you were getting a UBI, so you could be practical about this and think maybe it's just a small amount that you get each month that just kind of helps out and is regular.
Yeah.
But if you were getting a UBI, would that change your attitude to work? Do you think that would give you some security and flexibility? Would you still have that need to just work?
I think it would improve my work ethic, because I would be less paranoid and less anxious about the fact that I'm 2 paychecks away from being homeless, which is pretty much everyone's situation. I'm pretty much the same, to be honest. And I think that having that in place, if it ever does, they have trialled it, haven't they?
Yeah, they're starting a pilot. I don't know what's happened with that. Earlier in the year, I remember there was a press release that there was going to be a pilot in Jarrow, and I've forgotten the other place. But I have said both places before. But yeah.
I think for myself, it would just relax me a little bit.
I think it just helps so much.
Yeah.
It's just it'd give us a stake in the society. Everyone's getting it. like we'd feel like we were getting something, like there was something here, and it'd just make everything so much easier for people to plan. And
if I knew my not even my basic needs, but like even like 50% of my basic needs, like half my rent and maybe half my food bill was covered. Not covered, like I guess kind of earned in a way. Then I would be so more chilled, and I would be like, okay, well, I'm going to work today, fine. I'm not at the back of my mind thinking, got to make the rent check, I've got to pay the bill, I've used the gas, I've put the heating on, that kind of thing, which affects everyone, not in their work ethic fundamentally, but in everything. So having that anxiety at the back of your brain is not healthy in any way, shape or form.
No.
So I think it would relieve some of the stress. Would I take the P with it? No, probably not. I don't think so. I think it'd be interesting to see how a younger generation deals with it. And those starting out in work, or those who aren't really bothered to work. That'd be an interesting...
Well, I do think that's so there is the kind of like, you know, idle hands doing the devil's work sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of like, but there is like kind of listlessness. There is a level at which you need to kind of put people to work and create programs of industry and things and projects to do, because not everyone can always think of their own thing that they want to do and their own project to work on.
True. And also I think, you know, with the UBI, it would free up so much more mental capacity for people to actually set up projects like that in their spare time, which will help other people, if you see what I mean. You know, for example, what we're doing here, if you had a basic income that could cover this more hours of the day rather than have to have a job, then that would also help people. And other people go, oh, well, I can maybe get involved in that and things like that, because I don't have to work 42 hours a week or 36 hours a week or whatever. It would free up people's minds, especially, I think. The number of times I come home from work, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. And all you can basically manage is like TV, bit of music maybe, or
I don't watch TV as a principle. I'll watch it on demand if that. But because I only sit on the sofa when I'm with friends or whatever. I'm not a kind of zone out. But you know, but just giving people the opportunity to be able to do that, and also, like you say, the freedom to think and go, oh, I could do that. I can invest some of my time into doing that without penalty. Because I think to learn something new, you either have to go back into education, which is not for everyone, or you have to do it off your own back, which involves, again, a sacrifice of income because you need the time to do it, or stress, or, you know, a sacrifice of mental capacity. Which is unfair, because we're all trying to better ourselves, I think.
Oh, and learn stuff. We are curious and we like to learn things. Yeah. Always. You know, even when we think we don't like to learn stuff, it's kind of...
Oh, no, I enjoy
people
it.
People are always fascinated by new things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the amount I've learned in the last 10 years, between the age of... I'm 47 now, so the age of 37 and 47. You know, some people think to themselves that you hit like 35 and... Oh, that's it. It's not at all. I think you're just starting. But at that point, I believe that you're so in the thick of it that having the time to do it is limited. So, yeah, with the UBI, I think that it would hopefully give people more time and, as I say, more mental capacity, which again leads to less aggression towards the workplace.
Yeah,
and
just
less...
a bit more care and a bit more like... Doesn't have to be customer service, but just, you know, like a little more humanness. Yeah. And
I mean, there was that
slack
chap
in the system, which I think is what we need. We've made it too
regimental, I guess, in a way. I mean, there was that chap. It was in the States who he was on, like, God knows, he owned a company. It was God knows how much money a year, and he raised all his staff's salary by a huge amount. Obviously, had no attrition rate, obviously. But then also he had better productivity and less sick days and less stress in the environment, and people got on better, and there was a huge amount of benefits for it. And I mean, that example, the raise they got, even down to like the cleaners or the office juniors, whatever, was huge. But even being able to earn enough above the norm. Well, the norm is dictated, I think, by the current government or whatever, whoever they may be. And that's what you're told you're allowed to earn as a minimum. And that's what employers will pay because that's what we're allowed to get away with. However, I think that if they paid you, I don't know, maybe 20% above that, you're a happier person and they get more benefits. So, but it's rare you find that. Well, like I say, with a UBI behind it, then that takes that out of the employers.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you another thing, like you're saying with the training there, like when I worked in the sort of training and education landscape or whatever you want to say, it was, the argument was always like, all the employers were like, yes, we need continual lifelong learning. We need, training for everyone and everyone to be well trained and qualified and competent and good at doing their jobs. And the government are like, yes, we want that too. And then they were like, who's paying for it?
Yeah.
You pay for it. No, you pay for it. No, they pay for it.
Oh no, we'll put them on such a low my
Well, yeah, you get paid so little that you can't pay for it yourself.
I mean, my first job out of college was I worked for a company. I was the first modern apprentice. Remember those came out? So I would have been 18, 19. So that's 30 years ago. So maybe you don't remember those. I was even on. We used to get a magazine called Which Way Now, and I was in that as the first modern apprentice. And excuse my language, it was a shit show because it was basically a way of employers to take advantage of people, pay them a pittance, and not train them. Yeah, it was supposed to be regulated. No, we had to go to like seminars with your tutor. Never happened. It was just a way of like, forcing people into work on a poor salary.
And the assumption as well there is like, oh, young people, they'll all be living at home. Well, what about the people that aren't? What about the people that are thrown out at 16 or whatever, Like, why should they be paid? Just basically slave wages,
Yeah, I mean, my company recently employed a friend of mine who is a student and he graduated and he was working at Starbucks down the road and he's a clever lad and he aced his degree and we had a role going and we paid him pretty much properly. Like, we paid him because he's 22, so I think he's now on like the full minimum wage, so to speak. We paid him over that. I believe we have anyway. He's not complained. but Starbucks was like, no, you will stay on that, and we'll employ you from 18, but you only get this much. Why are they doing that? It's a couple of quid an hour, but it makes a whole difference.
Yeah, but it's looking at the numbers on the spreadsheet, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
accountant. They're not. Yeah, they're not. It's not a person that has to live.
No.
It's someone making the choice to take that. And you can make your own story up about why they're doing that. Well, it's because they really, really need money.
And a job and experience and things like that, it's, I mean, I've been lucky enough the roles I've had, and I've had many, have given me different aspects of experience. So I'm not educated apart from in the workplace. I left school at 16. I went to college, flunked twice to do essentially my A-levels, and then went into the workplace and have been ever since. And I've never gone back to education because it just didn't work for me. But, I'm facing, even now, at my age, graduates who are offered a higher salary than I am because they've got a degree in something not even relevant. Interesting. So... or employers who only accept people who are graduates, which I don't understand in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole point of it is that really the degree, because, it used to be you needed a specific degree or they'd ask for a specific degree. But then it was kind of like, well, you just need a degree because it's like, we need to know that you can go and do stuff yourself.
Yeah, and commit to something. For
you can. Yeah, and you can run a project and you can get on with it and do it and get it done. But it's like when you've been in work for so long that you're doing stuff. But I think the whole I've got all sorts of gripes with recruitment and recruiters and the way that...
Don't even get me started.
References, like the way that things are referenced, and because it is hard to check what people have done, you know. But like, surely there's ways of doing that by now.
You would think so. I mean, again, well, going back to we were talking about pensions earlier, I find it's very difficult for me to trace all my job history through my NI number, which I should be able to do. So surely that would work both ways. The employer, if I've given them a CV going, I worked here, 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 and here.
Well, this is it. If any of the government services were actually, you know, like now in this age, they could be really, really useful to us, really functional. Like I've had the conversation before of like, the tax office will send you letters saying exactly this, like you owe us this, give us it now, right now, and it's for this. You ring them up, they know nothing, like they can't find anything, can't help you, can't do a bloody thing for you.
It's a civil service,
but it should be that you ring up and it's like, I've got it all here, I've got your file, you know, go through the security questions, right? This is what you were doing, this is where you're at, this is what we expect from you, this is what we believe, are we wrong with this? All of that should be there.
Oh, it should be, easily, because we're based on one number we get when we, you know, essentially hit puberty, to be honest. I know mine off by heart, and it's like, and why I can't access information myself, for a start, is interesting, because I could do with knowing it. I mean, I dread to think how many jobs I've had in the last, I mean, essentially I started work at 18, to be fair, properly, you know, part-time jobs and whatever prior to that. But I would say that I don't remember dates and times and
God no.
whatever.
What was your start date? I've no bloody idea.
I know the year, maybe. Ish.
I think that was then. How long was I there for? Was that a week or was that a year?
Was it 2 years, 18 months? I don't know. I mean, it was interesting when I started working in aviation because to get an airside pass, so you can actually go through security without having a ticket or whatever and actually work on the air. I'm going to call Leeds Bradford airfield as opposed to airport because it is an airfield. I had to literally nail down 5 years, my last 5 years of employment history to the day and get references for that. And or if the company wasn't in, you know, still trading or whatever, I had to get someone to vouch for the fact that I'd worked there from X date to X date.
Like the time and cost of that, like to do that. Like in a modern situation where like you more than likely have been in 5 jobs in 5 years.
Potentially, yeah. I think 2 years is generally my kind of like 2 years. I'm like,
but you must have done a few roles where it's like you did a month or a week or 3 or
not that many actually. No, not that many.
Do you like to sort of when you get somewhere you're like I'm doing at least 3 months? Do you have like a number in mind of?
I'd like to get past probation. Then I can start, you know, saying what I think. But no. I mean, no. It's interesting because I've been through that many interviews and things like that. That I'm selective in. I'll apply for. I don't know if I'm unemployed. My job is to get a job. So I spend a huge amount of time, 8 hours a day, looking for a job because that's what I need to do. Maybe I'm programmed to do that. I don't know. And if I get a face-to-face interview, I would say 8 times out of 10 I get the job. But then I will turn them down. Not because I've got a better job, because I didn't like the person. I didn't like their ethics. I didn't like their... it sounds a bit facetious to come across that way.
No,
in a way,
but you didn't vibe with it. So
yeah,
it was like,
exactly. So I've turned a lot of jobs down and gone, no, you know what? Thank you for the offer, but I'm not going to take it. And sometimes the reaction you get is surprising. You almost get like an argumentative, well, why don't you want it? Like, I just don't. I'm not going to the fact that you were a bit of a idiot in the interview.
Well, the truth is you just didn't impress me. And I've been seeing a few other people.
I have said that before. I've said I've looked at your, you know, going back to social media, looked at reviews and things. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to work for you because that might taint my reputation, if you see what I mean. or I just didn't like the environment I was interviewed in, or I always turn up early for an interview so I can get a gauge of what's going on, even just sat in reception, as to how happy people are, whether the receptionist is happy or just staring at Facebook or whatever, or miserable or whatever. And I think that gives you a good stance as to whether you actually want to take. I don't think you should take the job if it looks terrible.
Like as a temp, like I've said, so I've been in loads of roles, and I was in one recently, and it's the first one where anyone that's been doing the sort of first day induction has actually shown me a fire escape. I said, this is where the fire escape is. Like, they never do it.
No.
They always forget that. They're just like, this is there until it's there.
This is Sarah. She's a bitch.
Yeah. You'll never remember all these names, but I'm going to tell you them all anyway. Okay.
No, I understand that, yeah. Not how do I get out of this building if it's on fire, because I don't give a shit about Sarah.
Okay, so let's do a bit on roles then. So at a general estimate, how many do you think you've done?
Couldn't say.
Over 20?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And any highlights? Any lowlights?
Oh, I try and make... to give a bit of an anecdote.
Or any like really odd ones?
Seriously?
I always wanted to be the guy that blew up snow to prevent avalanches, because how cool would that job be? Just like going around on a little snowmobile firing dynamite at big
that's
snow.
One.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, lots of. I taught and managed a company teaching people how to ride segways, which is nuts, to be honest. I ran campsites.
Who were the customers? Was it mainly like corporate
general
execs?
public? No, general public. Yeah, general public. Yeah, that was fun.
Was it mainly guys? Was it younger or
no,
everyone?
Full cross section.
Like,
yeah. We did corporate stuff, which was boring, to be honest. But then we did like weekends. We'd go to a certain like stately home or somewhere like Tatton Park or something like that. And then people would buy vouchers, like red letter days, or someone would buy it for their birthday, and they'd turn up and do it. So it was everyone. It was quite fun, that job. Other things. I ran a ski school, even though I'd never skied before.
It wasn't online, was it?
No, it wasn't online. It was face to face.
Was it on a dry slope or?
No, it was in France, in the Three Valleys.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I got the job because I didn't ski, because the French guy who owned the company, Pierre Francois, he employed me because I didn't ski, because I wouldn't want to spend like a season there all the time on the slopes. I'd actually manage the business, which I did, but I got to learn how to ski out the back of it, which was quite fun. Apart from breaking myself a few years later, but
that will happen with skiing.
I'm done with that now. Yeah. No, I went back and did another season afterwards when I couldn't ski, and I quite enjoyed it. But it's a young person's game, that, and I was definitely feeling old at that point. And I was 35. Other things, loads of stuff. Just I forget, but I always try and make light of everything that I do, and I try and. Not necessarily so I'm amazing at it, but also so I enjoy it.
You done any driving jobs?
Lots that involve driving.
But not where the role's actually driving.
No, I think that's why I still like to drive. No, not like, for example, like delivery post or long distance or coach. I did get a job with a company called Exodus. I don't think they're longer trading, which was overlanding. So it was
what?
Well, taking a 4x4 bus basically. Across Africa or South America. They offered me the job. I had to pass my bus license. I did my test twice and failed. And I was going to do it a third time, and the company, I think, went into liquidation. So I stopped that. It cost me a fortune. But that would have been awesome, I think.
Any things that you kind of started towards? Like, my dad was going to get a HGV license for a bit at one point. You ever do anything like that?
No. No.
Have you got your forklift truck license?
No, but I can drive one.
So have you got?
Oh, no, I do. Yeah, I got it at the airport. Yeah.
Have you got any? So what are the kind of like? Do you have any weird qualifications that you've picked up through? No.
No, everything's experience, and I'm at. It sounds bad, but I'm at the stage now. I'll employ someone who's got that license rather than do it myself. Although I know I can do it. I mean, like, I did like my bus driving test. I did my. I've got grandfather rights because I'm old, so I can drive up to a 7.5 ton truck, which covers pretty much everything. To be honest, I got a fork truck license through the airport. Pretty much these days, I don't have to do that myself.
Do you have to keep a DBS as well?
Yes. Yeah. But in general, because I'm kind of like management level, it's rare that I have to step in on that level.
Yeah.
Which is awful, but you know, and it's less learning for me, I guess. But I'm just too busy.
Yeah, but you also want some seniority as well. Like, and this is the thing with more pay is more paperwork.
Yeah, true. I've managed to avoid quite a lot of that because now I'm not very good at it.
So what are your turn-ons and turn-offs for work then? Like, what are the parts of the role? Like, if it was, what are the things that make you leave a job? Like, if it gets to boredom. It's not like there's too much paperwork now, or there's too much of this, or are you quite happy to sit in a room and work and do reports and things? And
if I need to,
spreadsheets and data.
Yeah. I'm quite happy to do that as long as it's justified.
Do you need a mix of something that's a bit physical?
Yes.
And
yes.
So you couldn't just sit at a chair the whole
No.
But at the same time, you don't want to be running around lifting stuff all day, going up and down stairs.
A mix of the two is great. So, and also I think one thing I've got with my current role is the fact I have the freedom to do. They trust me to just do what I'm doing. I might be in the office one day. I might be in London tomorrow. I don't need to tell anyone. I don't need to clear it with anyone. I just go and do it because the benefits are there for them, if it's my employer. And they trust me enough to go, oh yeah, Chris has gone to London. Why has he gone to London? This needs sorting. Oh, fine. You know, I don't take the mick. It's funny because other people have been employed, not in my role, but in my department, have taken the mick. And they just disappear for a day on end. And everyone's like, well, where have you been? Well, Chris was out all day. I was like, yeah, but Chris was doing something. Or there's a return for that, or a report's come in, or, you know, he's dealt with this or that other.
We can see tangible results from where he went.
Yeah.
What did you do?
You spent all day in Costco.
There's just McDonald's wrappers around you.
Yeah, essentially that does happen. And I think from my own sort of work ethic that I don't like being bored. I don't like, as long as I'm being productive, I'm happy. If I'm not being productive, I'm sad, and that will make me leave. I'll be like, I'm not getting any benefit. You're not getting any benefit.
I'm not bringing any use to this.
No.
So I'm not being useful. So what's the point? Do you need your role to exhaust you? Do you need to come home at the end of the day and feel tired, or is that not so important to you?
I am. It doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah.
It depends, because my
Do you like the role to be like? Does it have to be challenging, or does it need to be hard, or like, does it need to be something that you can do, that you feel confident and comfortable doing?
Oh no, I like being out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I like having new things presented to me. I like having situations or scenarios put in front of me and going, oh, how the hell do you deal with this? And trying to figure out a way of, and I'll seek advice and I'll speak to my superiors and my colleagues and stuff. Go, wow, and get a baseline there. But no, I much prefer that than regimented or...
Yeah. You don't want to know what to expect in the day. Yeah.
No, that doesn't work with me at all.
Yeah. So where do you think the sort of... Like, are you the kind of person that's done 6-7 day weeks?
Yes.
Yeah. And like, so
I've done 24/7 7-day weeks. I used to run campsites and kids' activity centres. that's 24/7, 7 days a week. Even on a day off, it's not a day off because you've got people on site who are living there.
Yeah. Who always want something.
Yeah, and 70 odd staff who are all
yeah.
doing their own shit and they're all living there. So it's more like running a commune than it is actually working for a business, which was great. But, you know, it's, I do like that. It gets tiring. But as long as you've got support and a decent team around you and you're all supporting each other, then it's not an issue. And also, I think the support of your employer is key.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
There was one place where I felt like somewhat abandoned.
Yeah.
And it just took any sort of joy or enjoyment.
Yeah, it's
or
just stress.
Then it became stress.
Yeah, all responsibility and no benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Because no one cares.
No.
So it's like, why am I caring? Well, I have to care.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't really care and I don't want to, and it would be easier if somebody else cared, please.
Yeah. Or even showed that they were giving me a little bit of support.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, though, I try to avoid that kind of scenario. But with employers, you don't know what you're getting into until you actually deal with them. And it can be as simple as a change of boss. You know, someone leaves and someone new steps in, and you're like,
it changes the role completely.
Oh, completely. The dynamic of the entire department or the entire company can change. And I've seen that happen, and it's awful because everyone is dejected and rejected in a way. And you think, well, all the hard work I put in, all the things you've done, is worth nothing.
Yeah.
In the opinion of someone who you're supposed to, you know, don't know.
So where do you think you get that from then? That
What the?
the sort of need to work and the desire to keep working.
I always have, like, from the age of like 14.
Do you think it's a, you know, fear? Like, is it as, you know, self-reliance and the only way is earning money, or is it like someone that you saw that was like they always worked like that, or?
Possibly a combination of the two, really. I mean, I come from a middle class background, and you know, never really wanted for anything. But I was fiercely independent from about 14, 15. And I think I moved out of the family house at like 17 and didn't really look back. But like my dad, he was hardworking. He's a lot more like my brother. He was a teacher, well, a lecturer at Leeds Polytechnic, as it was then, Kitson College. And very kind of steadfast. My mum the same, but I was always a bit kind of here, there and everywhere. So I think it comes from a little bit of that. And also my next door neighbour when I was growing up ran like the local garage, like a repair shop, stroke petrol station. And rather than play football with the kids after school and whatever, I went down there and hung out and just learned to fix cars and pump petrol and do that kind of thing, which was far more interesting to me than kicking a ball around the field. Yeah. And it kind of stems from there. I think that was like 14 then. And there was a couple of guys who worked at the garage, sadly passed now, who kind of gave me an apprenticeship in stuff, and not just in fixing cars or whatever, but in kind of life skills and dealing with people and things like that, which you wouldn't have got. So I was quite lucky in that way. But I think that kind of set me up to always kind of look into stuff a little bit more and not just accept it for what it was, and that kind of aspect, which I think is rare, especially these days, because everyone wants everything on a plate and doesn't want to work for it, I think.
Well, it's that I'm motioning, pressing a screen. It's that instant gratification thing, you know, swipe, press, done. Give, put in mouth, put in hands now.
True, which I mean, it's becoming rapidly apparent I'm becoming a bit of a dinosaur. Which, you know what, I'm quite happy with to an extent. And I kind of look at it going, I used to be well into like learning all this new technology and things like that, and I think it's gone a bit past me now in a way.
Well, it's turned into sort of magic boxes, hasn't it? Of kind of like, even with the cars to a degree, because I remember a lot of people moaning with cars of like, there's so much computer. Like, so much computerized stuff in them now. It's like, you can't fix this.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've got an old car and I took it to the garage because I don't have anywhere I live to actually fix it myself. And I got it back today, and it was like a breath of fresh air. They charged about 250 quid to do a load of jobs on it. It was fair. It was transparent. It was the guy had a mucky rag in his hand. He was dressed in overalls. I wasn't sat at a reception with someone who hasn't a clue what they're talking about. Just give me a bill.
Yeah. Well, you can't even see the garage, or the mechanics or anything.
And he led me through, showed me the car. He was like, I'm like, yeah, look, I used to do this for a living, which he didn't know at the time. And he's like, oh, right, okay. And so, yeah, I do know what this is, doing what that is. And he's like, okay. And here's your bill, like 250 quid. I'm like, fantastic. I'll be using you in the future if I can't do it myself. And also, if I can do it myself, I'll still use you, which I think is a great situation. But that's an old school place. And I think I've introduced a few people from work who are young, newish drivers, and they've got problems with the cars. And like, oh, what do I do? I was like, go there. Because you're not going to get ripped off. But if you go to, like, I don't know, various named places, you will do, I don't know. It's very strange. Sometimes the old school is actually quite good.
So, future-wise then, would it always be work? Would it always be employment? You haven't got any secret desires to start a company or finally design that car?
Not design the car. No, I'm not. Or no. It's interesting because I would say that probably 90% of my friends have said that I should set up on my own because I've got all the skills behind me.
And you've got all the experience in the roles, like you know how a business works, you know how to operate stuff.
Yeah. I know how to balance the books, I know how to deal with the accounts, all that kind of stuff.
Deal with the customers, deal with suppliers, set up purchases,
But I just haven't found the thing that I want to do. And maybe I'm a little bit scared of it.
Or maybe it's just you haven't got anything that you want to do for yourself.
No, maybe not. I think in a way,
like I had a lot of ideas of like, well, someone should do this and someone should do that, and it's like, well, I could do it. I don't want to though. Like, I had a thing where I was like, I was just going to have a website where I just put ideas on for like, so other people, if they've, because there are people out there who want to be entrepreneurs who don't have ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and they succeed though. Yeah, it's true. And I mean, I looked at setting up 2 businesses in my past, so probably in the last 20 years. One was a company I worked for, which I'm still friends with them and the owners and stuff. They did service apartments, like small hotel basically, and I worked out, did all the finances behind it. I was like, with probably 4 or 5 apartments, I could make enough living for myself that I could live in my place for free, essentially, and earn enough just to get by, which was fine. Don't need to expand it, don't need to do anything more. I didn't want a big business. And that nearly came to fruition. But it would involve an investor, which meant that it got cut. And I didn't have the capital behind me to be able to do it. So that got stopped. And the second one was I found a place in the city centre. It was a derelict nightclub at the back of the market, which has been derelict for like 20 years. A beautiful space, underground. And I wanted to set up, this is like probably 12 years ago, like a rent by the hour office space. And that was before you could do that. And I approached the councils, they own the building. And that kind of area was earmarked for development, and they were leaving it empty for a reason, basically. And I approached them. I went, okay, I want to set up this, which was during the day, like essentially a kind of hot desk space, which was a new concept at that point. And then in the evening, I was going to set up like essentially a dry, as in sober, gamers cafe. So I have decent monitors, amazing internet connection, that kind of stuff. And people could come either with their PCs, Xboxes, whatever, and have like a social space, which they may not necessarily have. I mean, you can do it all online now, do Discord and whatever things, but actually to be social with it.
Yeah.
And put all the business propositions together. The council rejected it because they said, in the view of the person who was like the planning manager, oh no, you will start selling alcohol. I'm like, no, I won't. The whole point was it's a dry space. I want to attract young people there.
Like give them somewhere they can actually go.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, oh no, well you can't, because if young people go and have somewhere to go, then they'll all do drugs or something.
Yeah, it was essentially that. Yeah, and I was like, well, that's not beneficial.
No.
So that got rejected. So I had to drop that idea as well.
I've just seen this thing recently. So are you aware of this? Of like the parks and park spaces are predominantly used by men and boys and not by women, like to a significant degree.
Oh no, I wasn't aware of that. And I can understand that it probably is the case, but no, I wasn't aware of that.
And you know, that's one of those other things that you're like, I wouldn't have thought of that. And then, someone says it and you're kind of like, oh yeah.
Well, no, I'd not even thought of that. No, I guess there's less need now because I think in a way people working from home due to the pandemic and things has led to just more people working at home. But I've watched and I do
think there's still a need for space. That hasn't gone away. There are people that need gardens and spaces and more park spaces and
more friends that I know have got allotments recently just to have that outdoor space. And it's kind of weird in the fact that a lot of my friends, they obviously start to have to work from home. I mean, you know a couple of them, and they have developed this. And I've said this to their faces. I'm like, you need to go back to work. You need to go back to the office at least maybe a couple of times a week or something. Yeah. Just that social interaction.
Yeah, because you
just the annoyance of the commute.
You're becoming weird.
Yeah. And fat. And unhealthy. Yeah. And then complaining about it. To me,
really pale.
Yeah. But I think there's an element of that in the fact that I'm like, just go in a couple of days a week. Oh, but I'm like, be annoyed at the commute. Be annoyed at the fact you have to get on the train. Be annoyed at the fact you're sat in traffic, because that's part of day-to-day life. Yeah. And if you're sat just...
Get up and embrace the misery.
Well, to an extent, on your own terms, but at least do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just turn to a bit of a flake, I think.
Yeah.
And then everything's too much effort. Even I don't know, going to meet your friends then becomes an effort. And it's, just come around here. And it's like, no.
Come here, or let's meet online, or no.
Yeah, I've seen a definite degradation of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've definitely seen the flip side as well. A lot of people who are out all the time now, and every week I'm in the park and we do a quick brisk walk around it, and then we do this and we do this and we do this to make sure that we're doing things.
Yeah. Well, yes. It's rare though. I think. Well, with my friend circle, it is.
Yeah. This was one of the other questions. Ever thought about just buying a business then? If you've got the acumen. Yeah, but you could get a loan.
No.
You could put a business plan together. You could.
I tried, and banks wouldn't even entertain talking to me. I tried to book appointments when I was looking at setting up that space in town. I went to 4 different banks, including my own, and they arranged appointments and then cancelled them. And then when I presented the business plan, which had been checked over by a friend of mine who's actually an entrepreneur and stuff, said that's solid. They were like, no, it's too much of a risk. Because I had no previous history in running a business.
Do you know there are these VC things now in town where they're they put people in touch with angel investors and stuff?
No.
Yeah. So there's more of that kind of stuff happening. But that's the kind of thing that needs to be about, because
it needs to be promoted more. I've not heard of it.
But that's the thing. It's with banks, because banks got scared as well. They were only interested in doing
a couple of years before. So,
But they were only interested in doing that and share buybacks. They weren't interested in lending to people. Commercial lending and you sort of retail banking.
Yeah,
it just wasn't happening at the scale it should have been happening at. And so there is a big lack of kind of business capital and investment, because they don't know how to how to measure that risk anymore.
No, because I mean, I guess once bitten, twice shy. But then why are they a bank?
Well, yeah. What are you there for? If not
to make money, not to give it out.
Yeah, but also in capitalism, to make money, you need to set a body of capital somewhere and then get an enterprise going, and then it grows from there.
Yeah.
Seed capital.
Yeah, true. Certainly not in the UK. I don't think that's... certainly not in the north of the UK. That's available readily.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying as well. Like, you are seeing some good stuff now. Of like, there are people in the city with money who want to keep the money in the, want to invest back into the city. And then there is an effort to kind of make that easier. But again, it's good that that's happening, but I can imagine it very easily or very quickly becoming quite cliquey and sort of.
Oh yeah. It'll be,
But we'll have the do, but, basically everything's prearranged.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting on what used to be the Leeds Club. Used to be a private members club in Leeds. Not one of those private members clubs, but, the old boys club. And it became like a conference events venue. And I was a waiter. That was just before I finished at the airport, or just before the airport. Unemployed for about 3 or 4 months. So my mate, my friend's partner worked there, and he got big jobs waiting on, which was great. I really enjoyed it. Apart from it was Christmas every night between November and February, which was a bit grating. But we used to do corporate events and stuff, and we did one for the council, and it was just a load of ass kissing basically between people who already knew each other. There was no new people engaged. You could tell they all knew each other, and it was like, why are you even bothering? You're just spending money for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of dismayed me a little bit as to even try and approach the council or that kind of genre, because you knew you were getting
you're already on the outside of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And there was no in way. There was nothing at all, unless you knew someone or could grease palms or whatever, and was not in a position to do that. Which is kind of soul destroying when you've got a bit of an idea or a bit of a dream, and it's just kind of, well, you not even get to ask the question.
Yeah. And but it's one of those things as well. It's like, like you saying your friend that checked over the business plan, like you need to know the people that he knows, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing of like, that's really good. What I should have done is pursued this with you, and like who can do this, and
well, I guess at that time,
what other people, rather than going to a bank who don't know me, and who are just like, no, we can make more money doing whatever dodgy shenanigans we're doing.
Yeah, but you look at that stage. I mean, we're talking quite a few years ago now. You look at that stage, there wasn't anywhere who could advise you in what to do apart from the banks. There wasn't like a. Not that I was.
Well, there wasn't even all the Instagram and YouTube stuff that was like, there wasn't. Do this and do that and set this up. And
No, I mean, I worked in advertising years ago, and it was in press, in paper, and that was before the internet. Now I am a dinosaur.
Do you feel like there's always going to be work though? Like you said dinosaur a couple of times. Do you feel like you will not have skills, or do you think that you've got enough skills there that you'll always have?
No, I think I'll always have work. I hope I'll always have work.
Yeah.
And I will, I will adapt.
But the ethic comes into that as well, though, doesn't it? It's like, because you will go somewhere and go, I will work. I will do this work, and I'll be here and I'll be on time and I'll be doing it, and
Yeah, I think that goes a long way, especially with me. It goes a long way. Like, I can't stand people who are late or just flaky, because there's no need.
Well, unless the job's crap, in which case.
Well, yeah, but there is that. Yeah. But to be honest with you, even with a crap job, I've never been flaky.
I start off reasonably good, and then I'm like,
oh, you're the flake. I'm not employing you. You're the flaky one.
Just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah, if I get to that stage where I'm feeling that way, I will leave. I will find the job.
Well, that's what I generally tend to do. Like, I'd rather just not be doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll do it, but it's at that point where, you know, like when I know the role, I know what I'm doing, and I know how to do this. I've got a kind of scope of the place, but I can't see like a meaning or a purpose, or it's like I'm not getting paid enough for what I'm doing, or this is going to de-skill. You know, like I'll quickly find a whole bunch of like reasons why this is no good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You start looking for it then, though, don't
Yeah.
you? You know, it takes one thing to then make you go, oh, you know what? Like, I've got a current beef with my current employer, which I won't really go into, but
it's a strike, in it.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's made me kind of think, well, it's a simple thing, and you can't sort that out.
Yeah.
So if there's something more serious or
Yeah.
further down the line, as I grow with this company, then that's a very simple thing that you're not able to sort out or not willing to sort out. Then it sets it there at the back of your mind. And it goes back to, like I was saying earlier, about that anxiety about work and going to work and that kind of thing. That once that ick's there, for want of a better word, it's there permanently. Because you think, oh, if you're basing that simple decision on that, then all your decisions will be made on that principle.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately isn't gearing towards the employee.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, and again, the thing of the employer being in your corner. Because if you can be naive going into companies,
of course you can,
being
I've been many times.
And you're sort of like, and buy into this, oh, well, we're all a family here and we're all this and we're all, you know, like.
We've had someone come in and tell you that.
But also just the sort of like, you know, oh, you, like they'll have been nice to you perhaps in situations even, and then something happens and it's like, oh, right, okay, you know, like, doesn't matter, you're not here. You know, you don't give a crap. It's about the bottom line and stuff. And you only need that experience 1 or 2 times.
If it got to that
to
level
have that
where...
caution in your head. Of
oh, God, yeah. And then you're like, well, why am I going the extra mile?
Why am I putting myself out for this? What would, you know, what are they going to do? Yeah.
Well, probably 0. I mean, but that's not necessarily the company you work for. A lot of it's the person you work for within that company. So your departmental manager or your director or whoever. I think that's essential that you have a decent person above you. If you don't, I will leave. On personal level, if I'm working for a knobhead, I'll leave.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that.
No, you don't need it.
No.
There are other jobs.
Yeah. Currently lots. It's weird. I think also as you get older, you start to doubt yourself a little bit. I think I certainly have, in the fact that I'm looking at jobs, not necessarily online. I'm not pursuing a job at the moment, but I get I'm on mailing lists for various job sites, and they send me. I'm like, I could do that. I've got everything they need, but it's like, can I be bothered?
Yeah.
Or is the grass greener?
Yeah.
Because the number of times I've actually moved from one job to another thinking that's going to be amazing, and it was rubbish.
Well, yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of things on there, and it's like, I don't do any of these things.
Yeah.
In this job.
I'm doing loads of this, which is rubbish,
It's like what someone in HR or, like one of the departments is kind of like, we want a person to do all these things. Yeah. It's like, nobody here does those things. No, but I want them. So.
Yeah, like having a dream list. Yeah. I mean, I despair a little bit with it because it is hard work getting a job. Working is fine. It's not hard work, I don't think, as long as you kind of enjoy it, which I do. I have a laugh every day to the point where, like, our little department is nicknamed the IT crowd. If you watch that, obviously, because we just are our own. We are ignored by everyone, and we just get on with our own stuff. and we have fun doing it, which I think makes my day and makes me actually want to do the job. And makes me also feel responsible and empathetic to my colleagues, and you know, and want to help them and them to help me and things like that. But that's lacking in a huge amount of workplaces, especially in like, I mean, I work in the corporate sector. In the non-corporate sector, that's everywhere. I mean, a friend of mine went to work for a university and was essentially abandoned on their own with a department with no training, no nothing, and got essentially like mugged and didn't stay long and really affected their mental health and things like that. So that happens. It's a strange one. I think rights of employees in the UK is terrible though. Like even after your probation or you've been there for however long, you still don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah. Not as bad as the US though.
No. I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time over there in the last few years. I mean, I really like it over there, and I think I probably do okay with the work ethic over there because I'm quite keen and that kind of thing. But
and plus English accent will go a long way.
Maybe.
It won't hurt.
Yeah, need some dental. I'll get a job with dental. But but yeah, that kind of, you can be fired straight away, literally with no recourse, is a thing. But it's less of a stigma if you are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got fired. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah. Whereas here they have to make a bit of an effort to fire you.
Yeah, and then if you do get fired, you're screwed. I mean, I've been fired 3 times in all my jobs, and I kind of deserved it. I kind of did, but then I would say definitely 2 of the 3 times I was ready to leave anyway.
Yeah.
And they knew it, and they just kind of made the shove.
Yeah. Let's just
becomes
call
toxic.
this quits.
Yeah, it becomes toxic.
You don't want to be here. Just go home.
Yeah. Let's just 3 times. 1, 2. 3 times.
I think it is a balancing act though from an employer of like, you know, because you've got to keep people who obviously don't want to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like on lots of occasions. And you've got to make that call all the time. Like, I've never really thought about it this way before, but you've got to make that call all the time of like, are they hating it too much? Like, I know they hate it and they've always hated it, but they turn up and they do stuff and okay, they're a bit bad with some of the customers and they're a bit crappy at their job, but you know, they're doing it and I don't have to hire anybody else at the moment, but are they, like, what's the point at which they get too bad?
You know what? I think with my current employer, that's not the case. I think they're quite rapid at
getting rid of people, yeah.
And they will just go, no.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing in a way.
No, I don't. Because when you see people in workplaces that you just
they breed toxicity.
It's just like, just fire them. Somebody fire this person.
Yeah. Or just just pay them off, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because they are breeding toxicity into the workplace and they're dragging everyone else down with them. And I'm kind of, it's a corporate world, kind of with that. Which sounds awful in a way, but it's beneficial to everyone else.
It's better move on. This is the thing. But I know it's really hard if you've just I knew you might have been in this place as well, but if you've just done a whole series of roles where it's just like, you know, like one's finished or you've got, and it's just like, oh God, can't I have some stability? So I can understand from that perspective of like, but you know, you need to do other things at that point. You know?
Like, or learn something new.
You need to take some time off and you know, get right and go again. Yeah.
Or just, you know, try something, you know, kind of slightly off the wall or slightly out of your comfort zone. And that will possibly make you thrive in a way because you're learning, again, going back to learning or something new, or that helps, especially with me. Like if I'm feeling like in the doldrums at work, I say I will leave. If I'm not learning, if I'm not actually excited about it. We do sound like we're on a plane every time.
I know.
I'd like another G&T, please. But yeah, oh God, it's going off like a...
I'll wrap it up soon anyway.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I know, I'm enjoying it. It's just, I just find it strange. It's weird because I'm now of a generation that is not. I don't think of myself as being like of an old generation, but I actually am. I'm nearly 50, and
you can't ignore 50, can you?
No, that's happening. Yeah, that's definitely happening. And I look at people I've worked with and brought into the workplace, of which I would say 90% of the people I've worked with or brought into the workplace I'm still friends with, which is, I think, as a personal thing, is quite good. I had a girl who she started with working with me when she was 17, and she might hear this, and she'll quite up admit she was a bit of a mess at the time, and she came through. And I remember about 10 years later, running through there, she turned around to me and was like, "You know what? You made a massive difference to me." I'm like, "Well, why?" She goes, "You had actually some faith in me, some, and she's now, she always was a beautiful person, but she's doing really well. She's married, she's got kids, she's loving life, and that's a really nice thing to hear. But I think having that kind of contact with those people is also a good thing. But going back to like people who drag the place down, they need to go.
Yeah,
because they're not benefiting themselves either.
No. Yeah, you're never doing yourself any good sticking in a job that sucks and that you hate ultimately. No,
but then people don't realise they have a choice.
No, and you get scared. People get scared.
I'm getting more anxious as I get older about finding a job.
It's changed, hasn't it? I mean, like before, I never worried about any of it, and then post 2008, and there just isn't the jobs. There just isn't the jobs at the scale that they used to be. Like it's harder now. Like there are jobs around and stuff, but it is much harder to kind of like. I don't feel like I could just walk out of any job, and I don't feel like the next thing that I walk into will be as good or better.
True.
Like I think that there's a risk every time you move out of a job. There's a risk you're going to be in a worse one next time now.
There is. There's also the fact that you have to be able to support yourself between those two, which these days is nigh on impossible. Because you're not earning enough in the job you're in to be able to walk out. And
benefits is fuck all.
Going back to the UBI we were talking about earlier, with that essentially a small safety net, just a small safety net, that would make that so much easier, which I think would be very beneficial.
Yeah. And like, again, going back to that point, you don't want scared, like a workforce who's just... if they're putting in any extra, it's just because it's sort of out of fear or intimidation or whatever. It's like they'll do better if they're happier and if they feel more comfortable and if they're less stressed. Yeah. Because we know this because research.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, and just having that lesser anxiety. Because I'm really, as I'm getting older, I'm becoming more anxious. I'm telling it to my bloody mother. Because I think it's just a thing you do because you become more time conscious, I guess. You become more health conscious. You become that's already
your
mounting
senses
up already.
Dull. You get more pains. You've got more things to do and less like
time to do it in and
but also more time because the sort of the social life kind of falls away from what it had been. And I think post COVID as well, that's taken a huge hit for me.
Yes, I would say so. I am socially, but I've also literally reduced my own social life, quite largely.
Yeah. Well, that's getting older as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Kind of like, enough of you.
Again? What? No.
You're always like this. Yeah. Oh my God.
But but then I guess there's not the influx of new people because people aren't willing to meet new people these days.
And in England especially, it's quite
oh God,
hard.
We're terrible.
Yeah. It takes at least 5 years to get to know anybody in England.
yeah, I'd probably agree with that actually. Yeah. Although I mean, I've had some gems over the years who are still friends. So, but yeah, they are few and far between. Sad, really.
Well, but you need money to go out and socialise, to meet people. But again, there are these, like I say, these sort of walk-in spaces and stuff, and there are a lot of events and groups and stuff now.
Yeah, but you have to get involved.
You do, but that's with anything, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, off topic of jobs.
Yeah. So, like, let's do a final sort of windy up question. I mean, I thought of this earlier, but like, if you, what would you kind of design for yourself as your perfect kind of role, or something like? I mean, what's your equivalent of kind of retiring to the ranch, or like setting up of just like I'm still working, but
I like this retiring to the ranch, but that kind of would sum it up a little bit in a way. Like, I don't know, just being able to be. For the company I work for now, we had a chap who worked for the company for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. Sadly, he's quite ill at the moment, and he's a lovely, beautiful guy, but he's in his 70s. And he was happy. He was bimbling about, doing his thing, left to his own devices, which is what I'm doing now. I feel like, am I the new this person? I had to question it a couple of times. I'm not, but just... I think my design is to be busy enough not to be bored, but to be able to take the time to have for myself and my friends and my family, and to be able to then maybe learn something new or develop something new in myself. At the moment, in all honesty, I'm too busy with work to do anything else. I come out knackered. It's enough to really cook a meal and... So I think that a little bit more balance would be better. But then I have to find something to do with my own time.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't so knackered, I probably would be able to.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But then, finding stuff to do with your own time is kind of, well, is it then more socialising, or do I have to do groups or do some volunteering or do some...
Maybe.
Or do I need to get into photography or, what, like bird watching or whatever?
I tried all that. Tried all that. No, I just think I've always been a traveller. I'd like to travel more and have probably, if I got an extra 10 days off a year, which isn't a huge ask in the grand scheme of things, that would make a massive difference.
But the thing is, there are plenty of places where you could have worked somewhere and you'd have got that by now because you'd have built up the holiday.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have the skill set I have.
No. Unless you landed somewhere really lucky. Because some places are really good at just like, we're going to skill you up in this and this and this.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But you've got to remember, at the moment, I think I'm working to live rather than living to work, which I think most people are. And that's kind of a harsh reality. Because it's not that it's crept upon me, it's been there.
You mean the other way around?
No, I'm working to live.
You're working to live?
Yeah. So I'm working more than I'm living.
Yeah. Rather
than living to go. So having time for myself and then work is a thing that I do to make money to be able to have time for myself. At the moment, I'm concentrating more on my working life than my own life, which when looking at it objectively, is depressing.
Is that a COVID hangover though?
No, because I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't really suffer from it. I just worked all the way through from the office. I did nothing different.
I know, but that's the thing. What you did do different was you didn't have a social life because nobody could go out.
No, I still have a social life.
Well, I mean, you know, like there would be people sort of from work and stuff, and there's like stuff going on, but to a large degree, you know, most people were locked in. You know, most people were staying
I don't generally socialise with people from work. I don't have them on any sort of social media, apart from the odd person who's maybe lit a spark with me in a way, or we get on famously well. Don't have them on social media. Do not have them. Most of them don't know where I live. That kind of stuff. Because I try and keep that line between work and personal life. And I think with the change from COVID was the fact that everyone was doing online quizzes, all that kind of stuff, and that became kind of a blur. And I didn't make that change. I'm still quite segregated. Like I'm dressed in my work clothes today, or this evening. I generally would not wear this in the weekend or when I'm not at work. I have like a uniform. Even though I don't have a uniform, I have like a I like to have that line.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you were going to work in a garage, you'd put
overalls on.
Yeah. You dress for the job.
Yeah.
I know. I've heard of people who will put on a suit to work at home.
Well, that's weird.
But it is like they you know, it's like I need to be in the mindset. Like
they offered us, like, because we're quite a backward company in a way. They offered us we could work one day from home a week. But that was after COVID, not during COVID. Okay. Not that anyone died in the office or they started that, and I don't, because I don't like it. I like my home being my home. I have a space upstairs which I cobbled together like a monitor and whatever, and I can actually do it if I want to. But no, I don't like it. I'm terrible at concentrating at stuff when I'm not involved in it directly. Cobweb, or plant needs feeding, whatever. So I know my limits with regards to that, and also I worked from home for about 2.5 years ago, and it destroyed me. It turned me into an alcoholic and basically a wreckhead because I had nothing. And I don't trust myself in a way to do that again.
It's like there's
even 15 years down the line.
It's the remoteness, and it's the no eyes on you sort of thing. It's like no one, no. It's like I may as well.
I like the silliness. I like the gossip. I like the camaraderie. I like, and the fact that that guy's a douchebag. Let's all whinge about him or her. I quite like that in a way. But if I'm sat in my spare room, even though I can stare out of a nice window, whatever, I'm like, no. Why would I?
So you couldn't see yourself doing something that's, because your job's kind of semi-independent.
Very.
Like it sounds like it sounds like there's a lot of stuff sort of on your own, but it also sounds like you wouldn't want to do a job where you're just working on your own.
No, and maybe like you asked about, maybe setting up on my own doing something. No, because I don't trust myself in a way.
So potential business partner then, really. you want to look for people who are setting up businesses.
I would.
I'll come in and I'll do that. I'll run the thing for you, and you can be the money person.
I need to meet an accountant, don't I?
Or someone that's already made money. And
is there a website, accountancydating.com? Be unstoppable. They'd be really dull though, wouldn't they?
Oh well, the accountancy episode's my most popular. Episode.
Right. God knows what this one's going to be.
Don't know. We'll see. So, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to stop. Unless there's anything that you want to add. Is there anything work-related that you really want to... I feel this about work and I must say it now. So.
No, No, because I don't want to go down the thing of like, oh, I want to give advice to people. Because I don't, because everything's different.
Just do your job.
Do your damn job. Stop whinging about it. No. I think that I just think it's a bizarre world of which I enjoy immensely. And if it ain't right, then don't do it. Do something else.
Thank you again to Chris for being my guest. Thanks, as always, to all my guests. And thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. Chris is another guest that said recording the interview was a bit like therapy, and he really enjoyed the experience. If you're in Leeds or from Leeds, if you are Leeds, then please come on the show. I'd really like to interview 3 people a week this year, and I can't do that if you don't come forward or put someone forward to be recorded for the project. I am here for the show, but I also need Leeds to be here for it too. Not all of Leeds, it's a big place. That's why there's room for this. But for this to take up the space that it needs to take up, we need to grow that space. If you help, it will grow faster and it will grow better. You can add yourself to the project. You can add your network to the project, your businesses, your causes. This is a resource. Use it. Get me guests. Recommend people to me and me to people. I'm going to be working on this too, but I need you to get the word out further, and I want you to put some pressure on some loiners in your life to get them onto the show. It could do them good. Don't bother telling people to listen to the show. They won't. Just tell them that they should take part in the show. Sell the benefits. Tell them how it will put them in front of people that they don't know, who might be able to connect them to people that they might need to know. Pitch it as media training, a low-key, low-profile interview that will help give them media practice, help them to build their media and public speaking and presenting confidence, and it lets them do all of that in an unrushed recording space where they can make mistakes in safety. Being a guest for the podcast is the best help for the project. I still need to find 894 loiners to interview. Email workinghours@western-studios.com. Okay, that's me. Work for peace and plan with kindness. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook at facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Western Studios Leeds will help you realize your podcast for only £25 for an hour of podcast work. Need podcast production, recording, editing, or any podcast admin doing? Need it all doing? Do you want or need a podcast host or co-host for your podcast project? Then get in touch with Western Studios Leeds Limited. Email makemypodcast@western-studios.com to get your podcast made. I am available to third sector organisations, small to medium-sized businesses and individuals who want to make podcasts or create other digital audio content. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to show off your expertise in your field? Want some help creating your show and format, or just some support learning to podcast and getting going? Whatever your podcast needs, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds. Go to western-studios.com and use the contact page to drop me a message about either Working Hours or about your own podcast project.